How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Delighted to have you with me today. If you want to text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and so much more. We got to begin with what happened last night. Let's just deal with it. So, I got to admit, I am today years old, and my thanks to Sean Trendy, our plus 10 districts are a 20-point spread. I have always, when I hear R plus 10, think the Republicans should win by 10. It's the Republicans should be above 50 by 10, the Democrats down by 10. So a 20-point spread. This was an 8 to 9-point victory for the GOP in Tennessee's 10th. It was far less than it should be. But let's deal with the facts here on the ground. Before everybody freaks out, this was a special election held the Tuesday after Thanksgiving in an off year, in an odd-numbered year in Tennessee. The dynamics for a turnout election are always going to be different from a midterm election or a presidential election. You can only read so much into special elections. And to read anything into special elections, you have to read patterns into all of them together. But we do have something else. We have the November elections, where there were elections in Mississippi, in Georgia, in Virginia, in New Jersey, and elsewhere. And the trend in all of them from Mississippi to Georgia, to Virginia, to New Jersey, was away from the GOP towards the Democrats. What this suggests to me is that the normal rules of politics apply. By the way, you should know when Joe Biden was president, the special elections and the off-year elections, they benefited the Republicans. You got Glenn Youngkin was elected. You had the Republicans took the Virginia House for time. The off-year elections and the midterms, everything, the special elections went towards the GOP. The rule tends to apply. The party that controls the White House tends to have a bad midterm cycle. So we shouldn't get too worked up about that, except the GOP is going through a furious effort of mid-decade redistricting. Here's the problem for the GOP. It's twofold. One, clearly the trends are with the Democrats. And you can look at 2022 and say, hey, it wasn't as bad for the Democrats as it could have been. They still lost the House, by the way. They lost the House. The Republicans got the Senate. So it wasn't as great for the Democrats as people have internalized, because people were expecting a giant red wave. But the same thing here. There's not going to be a giant blue wave next year because of redistricting. But they don't need 30 seats. So here's the basic data. If the midterm elections shifted the way the Tennessee race did, and it was a race where Donald Trump won it by 2022 or by 22 points in 2024, Mark Green won it by 22 points in 24 and in 22, and last night's turnout, you should know, was equal to the 2022 turnout. So typically in these special elections, turnout's very, very low. Well, this was equal to a midterm turnout. And the Democrats did not win, but they got closer than they should have. And the Republicans, the base, can console themselves and say, well, Erickson, it was an off year special election the week after Thanksgiving. Yes, that's good spin, and it is true. But also, it's not good when every single county in the district shifted towards the Democrats by at least 8 points. If everywhere in the country did it next year, like Tennessee 7 did last night, you would have a 43-seat pickup by the Democrats. That's not going to happen. Calm down. But it could be a 15-seat pickup. It could be a 5-seat pickup. You know, the Republicans only have a 2-seat advantage right now. So the Democrats are probably going to win next year. What can you do to mitigate it? And that's where the conversation needs to turn. Stop thinking the Republicans are going to hold the House, and maybe they will if they get lucky. But what do you do to mitigate it? Here's the problem is that at the base level, people get very tribal and it becomes team sport. You know, I got to say, the fact that Tennessee decided to hold a special election on the day everyone wanted to fight about the college football playoff lineup and the rankings. I mean, I got on Twitter, let's see the election result, and everybody was fuming about the college football playoff rankings. Here's the thing. Whether you want Ole Miss in or you want Texas in, you want to give good rankings to any team, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just rage that your guys didn't get it and you wish you were in charge to make it better. I don't really care about the rankings because there's nothing I can do to control them. And people have logical cases. Like, for example, Texas does have a good case. They played Ohio. Do you want these teams to play strong teams or not? Whatever. I don't care. There's no winnable argument. There is no consensus lineup for the teams that everyone in America is going to say, yes, this actually makes a lot of sense because somebody's going to be a contrarian. So above my pay grade, I don't care. But Tennessee held a special election on the day everybody wanted to fight about college football playoff rankings. You get into team sport, too, with this. And I see it this morning on my daily email, the people telling me I'm wrong, the GOP is going to be fine, I've overstated it. It's tribal. Listen, my job's not to tell you what you want to hear. It's to tell you what I think. And what I think comes from years of experience of running campaigns around the country as a political operative and being involved in politics. And I can tell you the general rule of thumb is that the party that controls the White House doesn't have a good midterm cycle. You can say, but Biden lost. The GOP, thanks to redistricting, did not have a massive wave in 2022, but they were still able to pick up seats and gain the House by a slim margin. So how do you replicate what the Democrats did? That is, mitigate the damage to minimize the pickups of the opposition. And it's very simple. Operation Kooktoberfest. That's what I'm calling it. Operation Kooktoberfest. You go find the kookiest Democrats alive, and you make sure they get the Democratic nomination in Democratic primaries next year. Go do it. Go find the insane nut jobs. Now, some of them are going to win, but that'll help the GOP in 2028 when you have a bunch of bat crap crazy Democrats in charge of the House of Representatives who want to force kids into changing their genders and bring in more Somalis. That's going to help the GOP in 2028. You find the most insane, unhinged Democrats possible. And in a lot of districts, the voters are going to say, yeah, I don't like the Republicans, but at least they're not crazy. I'm going to vote for them. There's your strategy, people. You want to minimize Democratic gains in 2026. You do so by maximizing the number of crazy Democrats winning primaries. Very easy, very straightforward. That's all you have to do. And then, by the way, you should have a common message. And this is the problem for the Republicans right now. I want to take the boat. Now, I'm not using the boat to talk about the boat. We've already talked about the boat. We don't need to keep talking about the boat. We don't know a lot about what's actually happened with the boat. But the problem with the boat, for purposes of this monologue, is that if you actually, and Jim Garrity at National Review did this, if you go through all the things that the White House said about this particular boat that was blown up in the Caribbean, they've had about 7 or 8 stories. The story has kept evolving, not because of pressure from the press and the Democrats or leaks, but because the White House has revised its story repeatedly. We're now at Pete Hegseth did not know and did not see the survivors and had nothing to do with it at all. Democrats are suggesting they're trying to make Admiral Bradley the fall guy. Problem here is the inconsistency of the story. And it's the same thing with the Republicans in Congress. There's an inconsistency to their messaging. There's an inconsistency to what would go on, how we would do it, how we implement an agenda, what the agenda is. You have the president yesterday dismissing the affordability scam, saying it's a scam by the Democrats. He's not wrong, by the way. The Democrats did not care one bit about affordability until after Donald Trump got elected. Now suddenly it's affordability, affordability. What does affordability actually mean? What's affordable for you may not be affordable for someone else. Really, it's the cost of living, and the Democrats can't talk about that because that's directly impacted by inflation. But the president, there are things the president can do, and there are things happening naturally about affordability. You want one of them? There are some things that are happening naturally that the president himself doesn't particularly have a role to play in.
Data out tomorrow, and it shows that continued new supply and weaker demand are pushing vacancies up and rents down. The national median monthly rent for apartments fell 1% in November from October and now stands at $1,367. That's according to Apartment List. It was the fourth consecutive month-over-month decline. Apartment rents are now down 1.1% from November of last year and have fallen 5.2% from their 2022 peak. Now, vacancies hit a record high of 7.2% in October. That was unchanged in November. This index dates back to 2017. It comes after a really historic surge in apartment construction brought on big by the pandemic. Since it takes a while to build a large building, this supply is still on the high side.
See, you got that? President actually didn't have a whole lot to do with this. Apartment rents are coming down because the supply has grown. They've started a bunch of apartment complexes during COVID, and they're starting to come online. People are moving in, and there's so much supply that there's less demand than there is supply, so the prices are coming down. This is good. It's something the president can take credit for, even though he didn't actually have a big role to play in it. He might as well. Republicans need to get on the same page. They're busy fighting each other right now. There are warning signs from what happened in Tennessee last night. Look, the GOP wasn't going to lose. I told you guys the GOP wasn't going to lose. If they were going to lose, it was a full-on meltdown. It didn't happen. But every county, including the most Republican counties, shifted to the Democrats. And yes, it was an off-year election, special election, the week after Thanksgiving, but the turnout matched the 2022 numbers. And 2022 was a full-on get-out-the-vote effort. What did happen is that Republicans showed up at the end. Why did they show up at the end? Because the campaign of Matt Van Epps and the NRCC started scaring people about how wackadoo the Democrat was. She believed in defunding the police. She believed in letting people out of prison. She believed in having no prisons. She said she hated country music. She hated Nashville. Ironically, Nashville went out and voted for her big, having said how much she hated Nashville. Nashville has gone super progressive. It's like the San Francisco of Tennessee. Everywhere shifted left, but in the end, Republicans started turning out because they realized that this wackadoo could not be in Congress. And it wasn't just Republicans. Independents as well started turning to the GOP as they started learning how wackadoo she is. So Republicans, go do a Kooktoberfest. You go find the kooks of the Democratic Party and you get them out in droves in the Democratic primaries, and you make sure these people get the nominations for the Democratic campaigns and the open seats. So then you've got a Republican that the voters in the districts have already voted for, taking a chance on, and they don't care for right now, but they know he's not nuts. Against these nutty Democrats. You do that, you're going to mitigate the damage in the midterms. No blue wave appears to be coming. But there does appear to be a surge in Democrats enough in a narrow House, even with the redistricting efforts the Republicans are doing, will push them over the edge. And Hakeem Jeffries will be Speaker in January of 2027. Now, here's the catch. One thing the GOP needs to think about. They're doing all this redistricting. They're taking R plus 10 seats, making them R plus 5 seats. Those R plus 5 seats could become swing seats if something happens with the economy. They're playing with fire doing the redistricting they're doing. But the reality is there's no massive wave coming. There definitely is a surge of Democrats. It is theirs to lose next year. And if we want to help them lose, the way to help them lose is to find the most insane Democrats we can and make sure they become the Democratic nominees. Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of like pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's covepure.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Hello, America. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I want to play this clip from Mark Warner, the U.S. Senator. He's on the Intelligence Committee. He had been governor of Virginia. Listen to this.
I'm going to want to get answers on what did Pete Hegseth order? Why haven't we seen the whole unedited video? If there's nothing inappropriate here, you could have cleared this up without the admiral coming in. He's got a great reputation. I respect him. I want to get the truth, and I'm not sure we've had the truth from Hegseth yet. Remember, this is an administration that has treated the uniformed military with unprecedented disrespect when they were all brought to get a pep rally in front of Hegseth and Trump. This is an administration that's fired, uniform generals from the head of the NSA, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I think in many ways, the uniformed military may help save us from this president and his lame people like Hegseth, because I think their commitment is to the Constitution and obviously not to Trump. And I expect Bradley to adhere to that.
You got that? That's a subtle hint there. You have a ranking Democrat in the United States Senate essentially saying, you people in the military stand with Trump. When we get back in power, we're coming for you. They are essentially structuring a mutiny. Absolutely insane that this is where they are, that they want these people in the military to ignore orders and just presume that any order that comes from Trump and Hegseth is illegal. I will tell you this, and I actually know this from very senior Republicans in the Senate. They are very protective of Admiral Bradley. They like him very much. And there are Republicans in the Senate who are under the impression the White House is trying to throw him under the bus. Interestingly, Laura Loomer believes it's Dan Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army, who's trying to plot a coup against Pete Hegseth. Lots happening inside the Pentagon, and none of it really stabilizing. Hillsdale College wants to stabilize your mind with a great education and give you great insights into the history of this country, capitalism, the economy, chemistry, math. They've got 40 subjects to choose from. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com, you can sign up with Hillsdale College today. And you can take one of 40 different classes at no charge. They've got an impressive catalog for you to choose from. Every class involves 30-minute lectures. They're video by the best faculty at Hillsdale. Depending on the class, depends on the number of them, but the 30 minutes each. You do it at your own pace. You get a certificate of completion when you're done, and you have embraced a subject you're curious about and you learn about. Just as an example, they've got one on the Constitutional Convention and the early American Republic. And if you, longtime listener of the show, that was my area of specialty for my major in college. And I learned stuff from Hillsdale I didn't learn in college or law school about it, and it's really good stuff. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up with Hillsdale College today. Improve your mind, expand your horizons. In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you can only pick two. What if you could have all three at the same time? That's exactly what Cohere, Thomson Reuters, and Specialized Bikes have since they've upgraded to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload in a high availability, consistently high performance environment and spend less than you would with other clouds. How's it faster? OCI's block storage gives you more operations per second. Cheaper? OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Better? In test after test, OCI customers report lower latency and higher bandwidth versus other clouds. This is the cloud built for AI and for all your biggest workloads. Right now, with zero commitment, try OCI for free. Head to oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Hello, my people. It's Eric Erickson here. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. I got a problem. My kids want me to do a Christmas list. If I see something I like and want, I get it. And so here we arrive at the end of the year, and my kids want to know what to get me for Christmas. It's like, I don't know that I really want anything. The one thing I want is I joined this golf club, In Town Golf, and they have these carry bags so I can walk the course instead of being on a golf course. I figure it's good exercise, and they're sold out. I can't find them anywhere. I give up. We need to move on. We need to talk about the Somali situation. Christopher Rufo, his City Journal piece is a gift that could keep on giving for the GOP in a mitigation strategy for next year. I want to say this out of the gate. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just think it's the God's honest truth. Minnesota is a state that was for a time trending towards the GOP. You had Tim Pawlenty, the Republican governor there. It was a swing state for quite a while. And what happened? It got flooded by the Obama administration with a bunch of immigrants, a lot of them from Somalia. And a lot of them became citizens, started voting, and they shifted Minnesota to the left. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And in fact, one of the things we have also seen happen is they flood some of these blue states with immigrants to give them electoral college votes, and not just electoral college votes, but congressional districts to pad the numbers for the Democrats. You got to remember, under the U.S. Constitution, all people in a state are counted for purposes of congressional apportionment, not just citizens, everybody. So you flood a lot of immigrants into a community that is dwindling, and you prop up their numbers for the census. It's a blue state. It helps them. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think that's actually what happened. And I need to say something here, and I got to be real careful how I say it, because I don't think some Republicans are going to be able to help themselves without making this a racial issue and say the Somalis, well, they're black and from Africa, we shouldn't allow those people. I think that's nuts. I don't think we should be looking at where people come from, with some exceptions, terrorism, things like that, if they want to be a part of the American dream. Here's the problem, though, is a lot of these people don't want to be part of the American dream. And Somalis in particular remain in the 21st century very tribal. Their country is going through civil war right now. And they don't actually want to be Americans. They want to be Somali Americans. And I don't think hyphenated Americanism should be a thing that we encourage by public policy. And in the Somali community, we have a number of these people who have come to this country. They haven't embraced the rule of law. They have continued with their tribal nature from Somalia. And in fact, in a lot of the community in Minneapolis, they've engaged in behaviors that are not compatible with the American rule of law. I want to play you a clip from Minneapolis, from TV there. This one going to probably blow your mind just a little bit. Just listen to this. This is from Channel 5 in Minneapolis.
A fifth person charged in what prosecutors call an unprecedented attack on our justice system is now pleading guilty. 43-year-old Saeed Farah pleaded guilty today for his role in the scheme to bribe a Feeding Our Future juror. Court documents show he helped collect the $200,000 in cash used for the bribe. It was dropped off in Hallmark gift bags to the juror's house. Farah then received a video of the drop-off and later deleted it to conceal his involvement. Farah is the fifth defendant to plead guilty in the juror bribery scheme. Those sentencing dates have not yet been set.
Saeed Farah is a Somali. There's a Feeding the Future was a charity that was gaming the system in Minnesota on behalf of a large segment of the Somali community, getting the white taxpayers of Minnesota's tax dollars and flooding it into the Somali community. And a lot of people got indicted, over 75 indictments. And these fools got $200,000 in cash and dropped it off at a black juror's house and argued that this was white oppression, this trial, and this black juror should side with the Somalis. And instead, she reported them to the police, and they were arrested. Where do you think they got the $200,000 in cash from? Well, the welfare system in Minnesota. Of course. I want to play you some clips now as we send ICE there. This is Jacob Frey, who just won re-election. Remember, he's challenged by a Somali socialist. He won re-election, closer than he wanted it to be. Listen to this.
I want our police officers keeping people safe. I want our police officers responding to violent crime. I want our police officers preventing homicides and carjackings and shootings from occurring in the first place. You know what I don't want them doing? I don't want our police officers spending a single second hunting the father down that just dropped his kids off at daycare, who's about to go and work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Mogadishu or who happens to be from Ecuador. That man makes our city a better place.
Are we sure about that? Also, this, same mayor, same press conference.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Frey. I'm the mayor of Minneapolis, and we are here to respond to a number of credible reports from several media outlets relaying that there are as many as 100 federal agents that will be deployed to the Twin Cities with a specific focus on targeting our Somali community. To our Somali community, we love you and we stand with you. That commitment is rock solid. Minneapolis is proud to be home to the largest Somali community in the entire country. They've been here for decades in many instances. They're entrepreneurs and fathers. They benefit both the culture and the economic resilience of our city. Targeting Somali people means that due process will be violated. Mistakes will be made. And let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no other reason than the fact that they look like they are Somali.
He also speaks some Somalian, and the police chief there does too. I need to say something to my brothers and sisters in Christ on the right. If you're offended that the mayor and the police chief have learned how to speak Somali because they have a large population of immigrants, there's something wrong with you. You don't say that anymore in this country about American politicians speaking Spanish for the Hispanic community. It's just the Somalis. You be careful with this. Be careful where this leads your heart and your brain on this. You got a bunch of immigrants who come to the country. They're brought in by the Obama administration. They're dropped off from Somalia, where it doesn't snow, to Minneapolis, where it seems to always snow. They don't speak a lot of English. Good on the locals for learning Somali. However, at the same time, learn English. If you're from Somalia, learn English over time. Assimilate. And that's part of the problem here, is a lot of this community is not assimilated. Some have, a lot of them haven't. A lot of them haven't. And a lot of them have been gaming the system. I want to play you this ABC News clip. It's very important for the context of everything I'm getting at. Listen to this. Remember, supposedly more Americans get their news from ABC News than anywhere else. That's what they say. I want you to listen to this story.
Let's bring in Mary Bruce because, Mary, I know there's another breaking headline tonight from the White House. President Trump lashing out at immigrants from Somalia, saying, I don't want them in our country. I wanted to get you to report back on this. Here's what the president said first.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country.
And Mary, you've learned tonight that this comes as ICE prepares to target Somali immigrants in Minneapolis.
Yeah, David, the president is increasingly going after Somali immigrants, and now sources tell us that ICE is preparing for a surge operation in Minneapolis, which has a large Somali population.
You notice where they never said there? They played the president. They played his tirade. You know what ABC News has never reported on? The whole reason this is a conversation is because of the massive fraud scandal in Minnesota that was largely covered up by the Democrats. ABC News, they're covering the president's tirade, but they didn't want to ask the question, what caused this? What caused this was the revelation that a large number of Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been gaming the welfare system to fund terrorism in Somalia. They've been routing welfare checks in Minnesota and sending it to Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda terrorist affiliate in Somalia. ABC News has not reported on that. ABC News has, in fact, refused to report on that story. So they bring on Mary Bruce, the woman who collaborated with the Biden administration to pregame her questions with him, who regularly attacks the Trump administration, to talk about the Trump administration's attack on the Somalis without ever pointing out the context of his attack was this credible report that's now been confirmed by the New York Times and other media outlets that the Somali immigrants in Minnesota, instead of integrating and assimilating into the community, have learned how to steal welfare benefits to fund terrorism back home. Relevant context to what the president was talking about. The Republicans have an opportunity here. Don't make it about race, but make it about the Democrats turning a blind eye to immigrants in the country who don't want to assimilate, but want to take advantage of the welfare system and abuse it to benefit people back home. They'll still scream racism, but this isn't racism. It's a valid point that most Americans recognize. Americans understand how welfare systems get gamed, and that we have now we've got the receipts, we've got the indictments of the massive gaming of the welfare system in Minnesota, and it's not just in Minnesota. In New York, Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, is demanding USDA receipts on use of benefits. And Kathy Hochul, the governor there, she doesn't want to hand over the receipts. She doesn't want to comply.
Let me tell you what's going on here. We actually went to court about this because people sign up for a particular program not to have their name in a, think about, do you really want every bit of information about you in other parts of the government monitoring you and tracking what you do? I mean, this is a privacy issue as well. Even if you're on SNAP and getting nutrition benefits like 42 million Americans do, does that mean that your privacy should be invaded now and that you should be giving out this information unrelated to this program?
Don't want to give out the information. We know abuse is happening, and the Democrats want to allow it to happen. They want to prop up an immigrant community that they don't actually want to assimilate into the United States. They just want them here so that the Democrats can pad their numbers in the House of Representatives and the Electoral College. They have no interest in these people actually becoming American citizens and assimilating into the country. We should want anyone from the world who wants to come here and be American to come here. We should not allow people to come here and not integrate and assimilate into our society. Either come here, learn English, assimilate into the country, or go home. Don't just come here for lavish American welfare benefits. We see how that's working out in Europe. It's not very well. This isn't an issue of race. This is an issue of immigration policy that the Democrats have been on the wrong side of. The American people have continued to side with Donald Trump on this issue. This is a relevant issue for mitigating 2026. Make it about the Democrats having learned nothing from the abuse of the immigration system. And you know and I know, you put them back in power, they're going to allow the pillaging of the American taxpayer system for a bunch of immigrants who are sending money home to their home countries instead of treating the United States as their home. It's a relevant, big issue. You got to be careful how you talk about it. But you got to talk about it. ABC News doesn't want to talk about it. They want to vilify the president. Start talking about this issue. It's a massive issue that will resonate with the American public because Americans are really generous. But they don't want to have their generosity abused to fund terrorism in Somalia, and that's what's happening. And the Democrats have been letting it happen, too afraid to even look into it, lest they be accused of racism. Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, and the phone number is 877-973-7425. Let me go to Jeff. You're going to be up next on the show. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Eric, thank you again for taking my call. I think we can tie both of these last two segments together with the point we're about to make. The theory of unintended consequences. So basically, the main point about R-plus districts being redistricted and losing to like R5, like you spoke of. One thing that I think is going to be a continuing theme in the future is all of this migration from California and New York and everything to the south is mostly blue cities. They're not going to relocate in the rural red districts. So what's going to happen as time goes on is the voting bloc, it's going to get bluer and bluer. Pink cities are going to be solid blue if that continues. So I'll hang up and listen to your response. And I think that could be tied to the Somali situation that you just spoke of as well.
Yeah. You know, listen, there is a real, even in red states, you have blue corridors. And take Austin, Texas, as a great example here. The progressive left in Austin doing everything they can to make Austin as progressive as possible, a blue dot in a sea of red. You take Atlanta, Decatur, Georgia, very progressive. Look at New York City. New York City controls the state of New York by its population, and it's been losing people, but offsetting with immigrants who come in who either can't vote or vote for Democrats because of welfare benefits once they become citizens. And it shifts states to the left. I'm in Georgia. We see in our metropolitan area in Atlanta. Demographically, it is white progressives, non-white voters. They're shifting the state to the left. Disproportionate control over the rest of the state due to their voting clout. It actually is. It's an issue. Democrats at some point realized that blue states were in decline. And in fact, you know, one of the big issues, too, there's a big study out about the birth rate in red states. Conservatives in this country are getting married and having kids at a disproportionately higher rate than progressives. Progressive women, full of phobias and neuroses about climate change and inequality and everything else, they have embraced causes that if the causes are their children, they don't want to have real kids. And they just adopt causes and identities. And they're not having kids. And blue states are in population decline in addition to jobs decline. And that sort of stuff matters. And the Democrats know it, which is why they're trying to prop up their communities with a bunch of immigrants who don't vote but get counted for the census. Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash. Something else to worry about from the government is they try to control your spending, where you're spending, how you're spending. So they want to monitor it. They want you to use plastic instead of currency. Swiss America wants to get you their report, The Secret War on Cash. It can help on your finances. What you do is you call or text them at 800-289-2646. All you have to do if you call them is say, Eric Erickson sent me. Or just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency, and it is spreading. They'll come for your crypto, too. So get the Secret War on Cash report completely free. You just mentioned Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Call or text them, 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646, or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Swiss America can help you save on your finances with Get the Secret War on Cash report for free. Message and data rates may apply.